John Wimber, who started the Vineyard Christian Fellowship, was born in the American Midwest. He used to describe himself as a fourth-generation pagan. He had no connection with church at all and used to say, "I didn't even know God had a book out. I don't think I had ever met a Christian. If I had, he never blew his cover." John Wimber was 29 before he ever belonged to a church, but later at Anaheim, LA, when involved in the pastorate, he worked through 37 books of the Bible in 20 years, verse by verse, and ministered many series covering major topics. We've reached the final chapter, chapter 12 of Ecclesiastes, and the first verse will be familiar to you. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you will say, "I find no pleasure in them." Solomon goes on in the last chapter in the Living Bible from verse 2. "It will be too late then to try to remember him, when the sun and light and moon and stars are dim to your old eyes, and there is no silver lining left among your clouds. For there will come a time when your limbs will tremble with age, and your strong legs will become weak, and your teeth will be too few to do their work, and there will be blindness too. Then let your lips be tightly closed while eating, when your teeth are gone, and you will wake at dawn with the first note of the birds, but you yourself will be deaf and tuneless with quavering voice. You will be afraid of heights and of falling, a white-haired, withered old man, dragging himself along without sexual desire, standing at death's door and nearing his everlasting home as the mourners go along the streets. Yes, remember your Creator now while you are young." Well, that's a bit grim, isn't it? But he tells it like it is. And so he's saying, remember before it's too late, before death overtakes us. He uses 4 illustrations to picture how life ends. It's like a silver cord that loosens and falls away. It's like a golden bowl that plummets to the floor and crashes. It's like a pitcher shattered at the fountain. It's like a wheel broken at the well. And the dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. In the words of the Message, Ecclesiastes concludes, "Life, lovely while it lasts, is soon over. Life as we know it, precious and beautiful, ends. The body is put back in the same ground it came from. The spirit returns to God who first breathed it." It's all smoke, nothing but smoke. The quester says that everything's smoke. Never forget that a preacher wrote this book. It includes his playboy lifestyle, philosophical lifestyle, life as a rebel, a skeptic, a cynic. The author was a photographer. There are snapshots of life in stark black and white, none in colour. Look at chapter 9, verse 14 to 16. "There was once a small city with only a few people in it, and a powerful king came against it, surrounded it, and built huge siege works against it. Now there lived in that city a man poor but wise, and he saved the city by his wisdom. But nobody remembered that poor man. So I said, 'Wisdom is better than strength,' but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words no longer heeded. He has spoken the truth about life, shown it up for what it is without God. Occasionally, Solomon has stumbled over the truth. He reckons life without the Lord is a pathetic, hollow drag. He pinpoints the one thing on which man's life turns, his attitude to God. Verse 9, "He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs." Proverbs are God's sound bites. It's distilled wisdom, a practical word for a complicated world. The preacher's words are compared to goads and nails. Both are necessary to learn God's truth. Goads prod people to pay attention and pursue truth. Nails give them something on which to hang what they've learned. Good teaching requires both. Students must be motivated to study, and instructors must be able to nail things down so the lessons make sense. This is how the Message paraphrases the closing verses of chapter 12. The words of the wise prod us to live well. They're like nails hammered home, holding life together. They are given by God, the one shepherd. The last and final word is this: fear God, do what he tells you, and that's it. Eventually God will bring everything that we do out into the open and judge it according to its hidden intent, whether it's good or evil. Judgment means meaninglessness is not the last word. Rape, murder, historic child abuses covered for 40 years. Well, the preacher, the quester, is publishing his findings. They've been in the public domain for the last 3,000 years, and he is saying one day we all will come to judgment. Nothing will be left covered up. Warren Wiersbe says Ecclesiastes is an inspired roadmap to guide us through the puzzles and problems of living and show us the source by which we may be satisfied. This is the book of many comparisons. We close with a fast dash through a clutch of things the preacher considers to be better. Wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. Chapter 2, verse 13. There is nothing better for a man than to enjoy his work, because that is his lot. Chapter 3, verse 32. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Chapter 4, verse 6. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. Chapter 4, verse 9. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to take warning. Chapter 4, verse 13. It is better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it. Chapter 5, verse 5. A good name is better than fine perfume. Chapter 7, verse 1. It is better to heed a wise man's rebuke than to listen to the song of fools. Chapter 7, verse 5. The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride. Chapter 7, verse 8. I know that it will go better with God-fearing men who are reverent before God. Chapter 8, verse 12. Anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better than a dead lion. Chapter 9, verse 4. Wisdom is better than strength. Chapter 9, verse 16. Wisdom is better than weapons of war. Chapter 9, verse 18. Ecclesiastes as a book is so much better when viewed from a different perspective. And now the final words. Do you remember when Jesus, who is greater than Solomon, said this? Why do you worry? See how the lilies of the field grow. They do not labour or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendour was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So do not worry.